Hey, Todd Burrier from toddburrier.com. I was asked recently in a workshop I was leading, a leadership workshop, and I was asked, how do you deal with imposter syndrome? And this is such a important topic because it's something that I think everybody essentially who is in any sort of situation where they have to kind of put what they believe out there. I think that's puts you in prime opportunity to have the perspective of imposter syndrome. I didn't even know that that was a real thing until a few years ago. In other words, I didn't know that it was a really defined thing, and it is. Right? It's the persistent inability to believe that your success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of your own efforts, right? It's this kind of thing where you're like, why you're thinking, why should they listen to me, or who am I, or you know what I mean? All the stuff that goes through on in your head. Speakers deal with this all the time. One of the things I said back in this workshop is I'm a great person to address this because I have fought this animal my entire life, and I'm assuming I'm going to. I mean, I'm 60, so it's not like it's going to go away, regardless of what I've achieved or what kind of life I live, etc. So I can relate to it deeply, and it's very common if you are in a leadership position, or obviously if you're a speaker or a trainer or a coach or a mentor, or if you're doing anything where you're trying to persuade someone else, right? There's probably a bunch of other applications for this, but it's very real and it's very normal. And so first thing is, if you struggle with this at all, if you deal with this at all, it's normal. So you don't have to beat yourself up that you're freaky, right? That you're unusual. It's just people don't talk about it. It's just pretty common. People don't talk about it. It's like, look, let's just all be real, and that makes it a lot easier for everybody else because then they're like, okay, I'm not the only alien out here who struggles with this thing. So first, it's real and it's very normal. And the thing you have to recognize is negative conditioning is a powerful thing. And let's just be real. We're all negatively conditioned. It's very few people that grew up in an encouraging household where the amount of negativity they were subject to was minimized. And then we get into a society, and I'm not going to get down the road. I talk about this in the Three Circles Living book. It's in a lot of my content. But it's a real thing, right? We are not conditioned to think highly of ourselves. And as a result, most people don't. That doesn't mean you should be, all puffed up too. That's a whole nother can of worms. But the reality is that this is an emotional intelligence issue, right? It's a feeling, and we have to be emotionally intelligent enough to recognize that it's not logical if in fact it's not logical. Now, if you are an imposter, that's different, but you're probably not watching this. If you're truly an imposter, you're too busy being an imposter. So, it's everything comes through our feelings first, right? We have to be aware enough to recognize that so we can step back from it and say, okay, wait a minute, this isn't a real thing, right? Even though I'm feeling it doesn't make it real. Right? So I can logic it once I recognize it's a feeling and not necessarily a truth. So here's 4 things that you can do to help you with this, because again, I'm a pro. I've had to deal with this my whole life. And so, I know how to handle it. And so the first is you have to work on reconditioning. And that's just a real thing. I teach this a lot in the Three Circles book. I teach it in my seminars. I work with my coaching clients. But take stock, right? Take stock of yourself. Take stock of what's good about you. Take stock of your strengths. Take stock of what you do well. Take stock of your past successes. This is really important stuff, because you have a track record and you have a lot of great gifts that, that prove it to yourself that, you mostly didn't get where you are by accident, right? That doesn't mean there weren't things in the pathway, maybe some fortunate occurrences that helped you, etc. But you know what? Those kinds of things come because you're in the game and you're working hard and you're trying to accomplish. That's part of everybody's journey, right? So it's not that someone should be successful and have never had to struggle, right? That's not a real thing for most people. And it's certainly not relatable and certainly not going to help anybody. So even if you were one of those people You need to step back and figure out something you struggle with to make yourself attainable so that someone else could be inspired by you. And so the first is to recondition. You got to do this on a consistent basis. I invest significant amounts of time every single day, right, in growing myself, right? You have to do it if you want to be the best you possibly can be. And that's my personal mission, is to help people live the richest life possible by becoming the best version of themselves possible. The second thing is be vulnerable and admit you don't know everything. This is a big deal, right? Matter of fact, this one alone will relieve the pressure. I don't care what it is that you do. I don't care what level of expertise you have. You don't know it all. And so let people know you know that you don't know it all. That is a game changer. Right? It's only when you try to be perfect in your knowledge of everything in life in the universe compared to the thing that you're doing that you expose yourself to being an imposter, because nobody is that, right? So if you're vulnerable and you just admit that you don't know everything, now you're relatable and it's accepted, right? Every time I talk to a group, first thing I say is, look, I'm just one voice. I'm one guy and I'm a regular guy. I'm nothing special. I'm no smarter than anybody else. I live a pretty amazing life, and that has come from playing the long game and doing a lot of the right things. And I teach everything that I do, but I don't know everything, and I don't pretend to know everything. And therefore, I don't have to have the pressure of living up to everything, because that would make me an imposter. And so I eliminate that because it's not a real thing. The third thing is recognize you are here, right? So again, I deal with this every single time I'm going to speak. I deal with, what if I don't have anything of value to say? What if they don't believe in what I have to say? What if they think I'm dumb? What if they, you go through all that stuff. But I'm able to step back and go, hey, it's not my job to make everybody love me. It's my job to deliver value. And the things that I've done in my life and the things that I teach make a difference. Whether they'll make a difference for that person or that person, I don't control that. I only control bringing the message, right? But, you hear this in sports all the time. You are what your record says you are, right? Well, you are what your life says you are, right? That's essentially the truth, right? The way you live speaks so much louder than any of your words. And so recognize you're here. When someone asks me to speak and I'm there to speak, you know why they asked me to speak? There's a reason they asked me to speak, right? And so it's the same for you. Any situation you're in where you might come up with this feeling, this vibration, well, you're there for a reason. And someone asked you to be there for a reason, or put you there for a reason, or you worked your way there for a reason, whatever. But you're here, all right? You're here, and you're already way ahead of the game because you're there doing the thing that you're worried about showing up in the right way about. Most people just respect the fact that you're there. So again, especially if you're going to be real and vulnerable. And then the fourth thing is just the truth. Well, they're all been the truth, but the fourth thing is brings it home. You're going to do it anyway, right? Whatever it is you're doing, you're going to do it anyway. And once you start doing it, because, that anxiety, that fear, that is part of the imposter syndrome. Again, speakers really feel this a lot, right? What if they don't like me? What if they don't believe me? What if they blah, 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 whatever, right? Once you start, that's gone, right? Once it's over, you don't have time to think about it. You're too busy being in the moment. And so you just step in the moment and do it. And then that you just add to your catalog of, well, I did that and I did that and I did that. And that just builds it. So I hope that this was of value for you, because it's a real thing, but it doesn't have to impede you and limit you. And so take that for what it's worth. These things really work, what I've shared with you, because it's what I do, and I only talk about what I do. If you need a little coaching, feel free to reach out to me. If you haven't read 3 Circles Living, I think it'll make a great difference for you, right? And not to mention people in your organization and your team, and it works. So anyway, take care. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.